So now we have an example for using the inner class. What we have, okay, we have a class called, no, okay, what we wanted was in our account example, okay, in the account example, we are maintaining balance, right? There is a balance field, right? But for the balance to change, we don't know the whole history of how this balance is arrived at. Fine, we want to keep history of all that happened on this account object. How do we know that this is the correct balance or not? Okay, so for that, yes, fine, what we use is we use a passbook, right? We have a passbook which gives us all that happened on this account, fine, date wise. So we would like to have a similar thing here. Okay, fine. So we can have a class called transaction. Okay, so each time you have a deposit or a withdrawal or a penalty or anything which affects the balance, fine, we should create an object of a transaction class. It's a transaction. So a transaction corresponds to an account. Okay, for one account there will be multiple transactions. There's no transaction without the account. Okay, so fine, it's a one-to-many relation and we can go for a inner class. Fine. So here we are trying to use a inner class, and the example which has been, so yeah, so then we think about what should be there in the transaction class. What are the instance variables? What is the transaction made up of? Okay, so we have like this. So we had thought of this, that there is an import for local date time. Okay, oh, we'll be using local date time here. So we have balance field. We'll keep these two fields also. Okay, fine. Account will have to have a data structure to manage all the transactions which are created on that account. Okay, fine. So we declare here, we are currently using an array of transactions, fine, and we call it as passbook. Initially we have allocated a passbook of size 100. Okay, so we can have up to 100 transactions in this array. Okay, and to keep track of how much is the passbook, how many entries I have filled up, okay, we have a next transaction index. So next time if I have to put an entry, it should be at which index position. Next entry will be at which index position. And so that's one thing. And then we said, okay, we'll also need to add a method to print this passbook. Okay, so printing passbook will be on these lines. Okay, fine, one heading, and then in a loop, fine, up to the next transaction index. Just okay, we have a system.out.printf, we have to look at that also. Okay, fine. And okay, a few more things which are being used are, now this is related to the class transaction. So what is the transaction made up of? Okay, it has a date and time of the transaction. So each time you create a transaction object, fine, we pick up the current system date time. So that is by using local date time .now. There is a class called local date time, and that's in a package .java.time. So there's a package called java.time, and where we have a number of classes, like there's a local date, there's a local time, local date time. Okay, we can have even the month and year also alone. Right? So there are many such classes in the java.time package. Okay, here we decided to use local date time. Okay, fine. So we say, okay, so every transaction you will have a date time, you will have a narration for the transaction. Okay, there'll be the type, what is the type of transaction, whether it's a debit or credit. Fine, what are the transaction types? Yeah, someone could think about it differently also. Okay, in the sense, someone says, okay, what are the type of transactions? So I have a deposit transaction, I have withdrawal transaction, I have a penalty transaction. And even that way you could be thinking, right? Okay, so we can have a different way of looking at transaction type also, right? But yes, it's a fixed number of transaction types. So we would go for a enum here, fine. We don't like to keep strings wherever possible. You should, if it's known, yes, there are fixed type, fixed number of things. You can, instead of using string kind of a thing, it would be more meaningful to use a enum. Okay. Fine. And then whatever is what's the amount of the transaction? So this would be a positive value amount. Okay. So whenever a transaction happens, yeah, what are the things we should be doing, right? So yeah, we are taking parameters as the three things, fine, to initialize these three things. As far as the date and time is concerned, we'll always pick up the creation time whenever the transaction is created, right? Okay, so here first check should be there for the negative. It would be throwing a negative. You can't have a negative value for the amount of the transaction. Okay, so we have this check, right? And then, okay, and then I've just mentioned what are the things we should be doing. First thing you should do, okay, whenever a transaction is created, it should also automatically be pushed into the passbook. Okay, as well as we need to be updating the balance. Okay, two things to be done here. Okay, you will have more methods like getting the uh, date time, right? What is the transaction date? And getting the narration, get methods. Okay, and so various methods will be we would like to add. Okay, and then once we have such a thing ready, right? Once we have this class, yeah, what are the things we would like to do here? Okay, what are the changes because of this? Now, the updation of balance is only at one place. Only whenever a transaction is done will a balance be updated. Balance doesn't change without a transaction. So you are going to be creating a transaction each time there is something which can update the balance. So, so we have a strict linkage between transaction creation and updation of balance. No other place we should be updating the balance. Okay, fine. So now whatever what we are doing is, okay, we are saying, okay, wherever we were setting up even the initial value for the balance was to be there, we said, oh, it should be the opening balance. No, we don't make any assignment anywhere to the balance field. Okay, instead create a transaction for it. Oh, it's a credit transaction. Fine. In deposit, again, oh, don't update the balance, just create a transaction. Okay, that should be the one which should be updating the balance. Even in withdrawal, right? Similar thing with withdrawal. Don't update the balance, create a transaction. Fine. Even in the current account, fine. For penalty, don't update the balance, just create a transaction object. Balance has to be updated. So that's what we would like to do, right? Here we have said, oh, we haven't written the code for it, but that's what we are saying here. Okay, fine. Yeah. So this is how we have decided that we should be updating our account class to have a inner class called transaction. Fine, is that clear? Okay, fine. So that's what we plan to do today. Fine. So yeah. Okay, fine. So let's now look at this. Okay. Okay, fine. So let's start updating the account class. So let's pick up the code from here and make changes in the account class. Okay, whatever we have written, maybe here we have whatever we have written, we can start applying it. So one thing, these two things, yeah. Okay, print passbook. I think we can copy all of this over there and then into the account class, and then we make the change. Okay, the constructor, yeah, the change will pick up again. Okay, but this first we can add into the account class. Okay, let's go to the account class. Okay, so in the account class, maybe in the beginning, okay, you can see one thing now. Since it's the creation of transaction that's going to update the balance, and there's no need to make balance available to the current account directly. Okay, we can declare this now private. Okay, oops. Okay, fine. And let me paste the entire thing what we have copied from there over here. Okay, fine. So the new things added. Okay, so what we have added is from here. Okay, so then we are adding two instance variables. Okay, and we have the print passbook. Yeah, we'll come to that. Yeah, we have to still update over here. Okay, fine. How do you, because now we would like to have a, since it's a printing of a passbook, we should do a proper formatting of what we are doing here. Okay, fine. So we'll come back here. Okay, yeah, we have the transaction type being debit and credit, and if you want we can change that and say okay, it is it's like, oh, it could be opening balance, deposit, withdraw, penalty. Okay, oh, we can have 4 of them, right? Okay, it's opening balance, it's a deposit, withdrawal, okay, fine. Okay, so we have the transaction, and then maybe whatever we have decided is we'll have to change slightly some of the things here. Okay, this thing is fine, narration is fine. Transaction type, now it has 4 options. Okay, okay, now see one thing, if you realize we have some of these, can we add a method here so that we can decide which one actually should be increasing the balance and which is for decreasing the balance, right? We have not directly said debit or credit, but indirectly, yes, we would like to indicate that. So whichever is going to update the balance in a positive direction, let's keep it as +1, and so these are +1. Okay, so we'll add one variable here, this is -1. Okay, so that's a sign, right? Okay, so we can in this enum we can update and say, okay, let's have the value of the sign here. Okay, +1 or -1, that's indicating the sign. Okay, and then we have the constructor for the trans type now with a parameter for the and this dot sign equal to sign, and here we can just give a public method to return the value of the sign. Okay, fine. So we added sign. If you want, you could use the name for it. Yeah, so you could, for example, you could add another string here saying, okay, it's the opening balance, and a description. I think, yeah, so this will make it look better. And for, in the output while printing the passbook, okay, so we're adding a few things to and make it look better. And so that's going to be another private variable, type is string. Okay, and variable name can be description. Okay. And we can just assign it here. So this is the normal constructor. Add a getter method for this also. Okay. Okay. Fine. So our enum, fine, just updated the enum. Okay. And then we can now use the constructor of transaction accordingly. Okay. Okay. Now let's see, how do we make an entry in the passbook? How do you want to make an entry in the passbook? Here. And we make an entry in the passbook. Passbook is account.this.passbook, because this is inside the transaction class, right? The passbook actually is with the account object. Okay, fine. So how do we make an entry in that? Oops, sorry. Account.this.passbook, that's an array of we have the next transaction index plus plus equal to this. Your current object which is being created is being set in the array. Where in the array? Next transaction index. Initially it is 0, so the very first one which will be created will be set at the 0th index, and then it will be incremented by 1. Okay, so this is that about setting up the making an entry in the passbook. Okay, in that array we are making an entry in the array. And how do we update the balance? Plus equal to, yeah, T is the transaction type, dot get sign into amount. Fine. We have the sign, so it has to be incremented or decremented. What we have done is we have said, okay, let's use its amount multiplied by the sign of the transaction type. Yes. Fine. So balance has to be incremented or decremented. Fine. So the sign is just to fine. The idea was to use sign so that we can do an increment or decrement. Fine. Okay. Add other methods. Yeah. What other methods you might like to add now? The get methods here. Public. Yeah. What are the things we have? We have the date. Okay. So there's a method to return local date time, get transaction, or the name is transaction, so we don't need the word transaction, get date, or you can say get date time. Okay, and this can be just saying return this dot trans date. Okay, fine. Then the public method to return the narration. Oops. Okay. Another public method for the type of transaction. Get type. We can just say get type, transaction dot get type, right? So get type, and this can be simple. Return this dot type. Okay, and okay, long get amount. Okay, fine. You can keep another method to return get net amount. Okay, and this could be simple. You could say this dot type dot sign into this dot amount. So that's a net amount, fine. The net effect, it should be positive or negative, whatever it is. And since we have this method called get net amount, we may use it here. Yeah, where we had to update, fine, plus equal to, and instead of this, fine, so okay, it's same as this, but since now we have a method, okay, we might just say, okay, let's use the method t dot get net amount. Okay, and just making use of the method which we have got. And so this is about the transaction class now, updation of the transaction class. And next, in the account, yeah, what are the changes we need in the account? Okay, so let's come back to the changes which we had decided yesterday. Okay, so what was the change? We don't need this because this will now be shifted to the construct of transaction. That's going to take care of checking the amount. Okay, fine. So this is not required. Okay, where we were updating the balance, no, we are not going to update the balance now. Okay, this has to be commented out. Okay, actually I should just comment even the earlier thing, right? I'll just comment out, so not needed, I should be commenting them. Okay, instead of this we are just saying, okay, let's create a transaction. Okay, the narration is, what's the narration? Yeah, the what's the type here? Type of transaction? Trans type dot dot get description. Okay, now since I think since we don't need this a narration to be separately managed, because narration has now become part of the transaction type. Okay, so maybe Fine, can we go with that change where we remove the narration as a field altogether? Okay, and we'll pick up whatever is the description in the transaction type, right? Okay, so wherever we were going to use narration, fine, instead of that, let's use the description of the transaction type. Okay, fine. So let me go back. We can get rid of one field from the, okay, because the transaction type carries the, okay, I'll just comment it out. Okay, since we don't have this here, okay, here is the, fine, and oh, we didn't put the initialization for the narration. Okay. Anyway, fine. So okay, I think we had forgotten that. Anyway, now we have decided we don't need that. So whenever a transaction is created, we need to initialize. Local datetime is initialized. Type of transaction, that's not done here. This dot type is equal to, what's the parameter in the constructor? T. Okay, and we need to have this dot amount is equal to AMT. Yeah. Okay. We had forgotten these two anyway, and there was the third thing which we had forgotten. So fine. Okay, so this should be okay. Now, get narration. Yeah, we can have the method called get narration. No problem with that. This is this dot this dot type dot get description. Okay, it doesn't matter to keep the whatever method we decided earlier, or it can still be there. Okay, right? Even though the field is not there, right? But it comes from a different place. It comes from the type. Narration comes from the type now. Okay, so trans type get type amount get net amount, fine, nothing else is affected, right? Okay, okay, so we don't need to pass this as a parameter any longer. We just will be passing the type of transaction. The first parameter is not the narration, but now the transaction type, so which is opening balance, right? And so that's a type. Second parameter is amount. Okay, what's the amount? It's a parameter called opening balance, open balance, right? The parameter which we have received, right? So when the when someone calls the construct of account, yes, it will call the construct of transaction with that opening balance. Okay, yeah, this opening balance comes from, yeah, you know this, right? It comes from the, fine, earlier what we have here. Okay, it's this one. Okay, fine. So lot of things being commented out. This anyway is dependent on the earlier constructor. No need to change anything here. Okay, compared to there's no change. To string no change. Equals hash code. Okay, now when someone does a deposit, right, again we don't need this. Okay, even updating the balance. Okay, so that all has to be commented out. Instead we'll just say, okay, let's create a new transaction. Okay, and to create the transaction we'll just say trans type dot deposit. It's a deposit transaction, and what's the amount? 8. Okay, fine. So same thing with the withdrawal also. Okay, this check won't be there, this check would not be there. Okay, because that has been shifted to the construct of transaction. Okay, so yeah, that part would be there, but we don't update the balance. Instead, we just create a new transaction and we have trans type dot, it's withdrawal, right, and amount. Call the construct of transaction over here. Get account number, get name, get balance. Yeah, get balance is fine. Balance is getting updated only from one place now. Fine. So a balance updation is only at one place. Okay, that's what we needed to ensure. Fine. We have made it private. So outside this class, no one else is going to update it. Only one place where balance has an assignment is the constructor of transaction. Yeah. This one. And that's a place where we are updating the balance. Okay. So fine. So that's a change for the account class. Okay. Now we'll also need to change the current account where the penalty is done. Okay. Just I think we can compile and verify the account class itself first. There's one more thing which we have forgotten. Okay, we forgotten the import. Sorry, import declaration for a java.time.local date time. And we have used this. Okay, and so we have used local date time from the java.time package. And that's a class which we have used in this file. And now we can compile and check. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Printf and throws illegal start of expression. This is line 19 and then 49. Okay, 19 is fine. Okay, we'll have to. Yeah. Okay. Let's update this line 19. Okay. So I'm just currently commenting it out. Okay. 49. Okay. What have we done? The word is throw. Next transaction index. Okay, it's trans index or transaction index. I think that's a problem. And get net amount. Okay, method. I think there are some spelling related errors. These two, and line number 17 and 55. Let's check this. Okay. Get net amount, right? T dot get net amount. Okay, so go back to the transaction class. Okay, and in class transaction, let's check this. What's the method name? Get net amount. Get net amount. That's a method returning long. Okay, let's compile again. This is get net amount, right? And where was the get net amount being used? I think line number 55. T dot get net amount. Okay, not T dot get net amount, it will be this. T is the transaction type. This is your current object. Get net amount is the method in the transaction class. Okay, and so that's compiling. And now let's update the current account now. Okay, and because there we have the penalty thing. Okay. 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 Fine. So this is fine. Only thing here we are updating the balance. Balance is not going to be available now. Okay. Let me just copy it. Okay. And okay. So this dot balance. No, we don't do a this dot balance, right? Instead, what should be done? New transaction, and in the constructor, we have the compute to be done, right? So this is for the compute part. Okay, but that computed value is nothing but the amount of the transaction. Okay, and before that we should be putting the, okay, so this is outside the account class now, so we'll have to say account dot trans type dot penalty. Okay, fine. So the transaction type is a penalty, and this is the computed amount of the penalty. Okay, so creating transaction means just specify the type and the amount. Okay. Okay, we have to compile the okay current account.java. Okay, balance has private access. Oh, we have used balance somewhere still. Okay, this dot balance, that should be changed to this dot get balance, right? Okay. Okay, fine. So this is also compiling now. Okay, we need to test. So test backslash. Fine. See, whatever is the existing code, whatever changes we have done are backward compatible, and the old test account should still be compiling and working. Okay, it should work with no changes, right? No, there shouldn't be any difference in the output. Okay, and it's working, right? Okay, what is the difference now we have made? We have an additional method called print passbook. Right? So for any account, we should now also be able to see its passbook. Okay, so we do that printing of passbook. So yes, we have to still update the method print passbook to use the printf properly. Okay, so yeah, printf is for print formatted. Okay, fine. Coming to the account class. Okay, so in the account class we have the printf, right? Where is that printf being used? The method is print passbook. Yeah, we have it early here, right? So let's uncomment it and let's put the thing over here. Yeah, what is it that we would like to have? Date and time. Okay, now for formatting, how do we write the format string? If we want to know about how to write the format string, okay, there is a whole description about it in the documentation. Okay, find how to write the formatting for a printf. Okay, what are the format string? Like in C we have done like a percentage d 10d, we can specify the width, right? And so how formatting can be done for any field which we want to print. Okay, what are the fields we would like to print here? So first field to be printed is t dot get date or date time. I think method name is get date time, right? Let me just check, verify it from here. Transaction has a method called get date time. Okay, narration is returning whatever we want, right? So we may use get narration also, there's no problem with that. And yeah, so we would like to, yeah, how do we want to print it now? Printf. What are the fields to be printed? Yeah. Date is the first thing. Next field, the narration. Okay. Next, after narration, what's the next thing? So normally in a passbook, what do you see? Date. Next, some description. Then the withdrawals, and then the deposits. Okay, so next field should be about the withdrawals. Okay, and what I will do here is I'll put each thing in a separate line. Okay, so one field is this one. Okay, second field is this. Okay, the third field is for showing the withdrawals, right? So what we can do here is we can say, okay, either it will be 0 or it will be the amount depending on the type. Okay, so depending on the type, we'll have to either keep it as 0 or the whatever the amount is. So yeah, how do we do this now? Get transaction type, t dot get type. Okay, if it's equal to trans type dot or we can just do it like this, get type dot get sign. Okay, if that's equal to a -1, and that's the case we are interested in. Okay, in that case it's the amount which I would like to show, otherwise I would like to show a 0 here. Okay, fine. And exactly similar, we'll look for the plus sign. So if it's a plus sign, if the sign is 1, then the amount, otherwise a 0. Yeah, still one more field normally comes. What's that field? The balance effective with this transaction, right? Now, if I go for balance, what will I get? I'll get the current balance. So it will be the same value all the time. So what we need to do here is, we may have to keep one local variable. Okay. Running balance, let's keep it 0. Okay. And we pick up a transaction and say, okay, let's update the running balance. Okay. And so we have a running balance initialized before the loop, and in the loop, with each transaction which we pick up, we'll update the compute the running balance, and that we can print here. So this will be your running balance. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. So those are the fields which you would like to format here. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 5 fields here. Yeah. Okay. So what's the format string? For date time, right? So, okay, I'm using it directly, percentage T, because it's a date time formatting, and C. Okay, this is what will be there. Okay, and then what you might like to use, a tab or spaces. Okay, let's keep one space. Okay, next field is narration. Okay, so that can be percentage, sorry, S is fine, but we have to have a fixed size. Okay, maybe 20 should be sufficient, right? Opening balance, I think that should be accommodated in 20. Okay, a space. So 20S, yeah, that's a S. Okay, then percentage. Next field is after the narration is the sign. Okay, so we can say 15.2 F. Acha, we don't put the decimal here. Because it's of type long, let's avoid the decimal place. Okay, so let's keep it 15D. Right? It's a long, it's not a floating point type, right? The value is always a long, it's in whole numbers, right? It's not having decimal places. Huh. If it was there, then our field should have been also not a long time. It's a long time. Okay, fine. So this we can probably repeat again. Okay, fine. So there are 3 numeric fields, and we'll have 15D for them. Okay, so let's do this, and let's now, so this is our, okay, we'll need to compile it with these changes, or it should be fine. Okay, because it's simple use of a printf, which we have done. Let's use it in the test account class. Okay, we can put it towards the end. What are the account objects we have got? We have got them in an array, right? Okay, let's put a loop and print passbook on all the elements in the array. Is this using okay, and I hope we don't have nulls in that, because I think we were experimenting and having nulls also, right? No nulls, right? Okay, for each account AC in, what's the array? Accounts AC dot print passport. Okay, Well, let's get the passbook for that. Okay, at the end, fine. So when the output comes, yes, at the end we'll see the passbook for all of them. Okay, there's an error. Okay, this is in account line number 25. Okay, 24, 107. Test account 107. That's variable AC is already defined. That's in test account, but 24 and 25 in account.java, right? Let's check what we did. Amount or AMT, that must be there. What was the line number it was saying? Okay. Let's see it here. Huh, now we are in account. Oh, this is current account stream. Yeah. Okay. It's not amount. Actually, it should be T dot get amount. Yeah. Okay. Okay, this is one. And in the test account also, there was some problem of using a variable. AC is already used. ACT. Or is this also used? Let me just check. Okay, so that's compiling. Let's run the code. Illegal format conversion exception. And for local date time, that percentage TC which I have written, I think there's some problem with that. Okay, the date time formatting. Okay, let's check that. Right. So all the format related things, where are they defined, right? That printf, if you have to use, how do we format a particular type of a thing? Fine. So this is the class which you have to look at. Right? In the package java.util, there is a class called formatter. Okay, so we have this formatter class, which is about, this is having the documentation for how to do the formatting of strings. Okay, so printf, right? Printf is there, so that would be yes, it would be it follows the same thing, right? So here we have this. Okay, so there's a whole documentation here, and here it talks about format string syntax. Okay, so as far as date is concerned, yes, there are actually, because date has a lot many fields in it. Okay, so if you want, you can go through them later, but here I'll just quickly go through them, a few things here. So this is conversions, general conversion, character, numeric, date time conversions, right? Okay, let's check with the date time conversion. So what letters are used? Okay, so T is used for date time conversion, right? T is used. So first letter has to be T, percentage T. Okay, so that I think we have done. Okay, this is how you pick up each field. So if you can say TH, so that would give me the hour. Okay, fine. So individually picking up one field, but we are actually interested in having a number of fields from that. So this we call as a composition, right? So there are a few compositions for which are available directly. So I'll just directly come to that composition thing. The following table summarizes a supported flag. Why means a flag is supported. Yeah, the following conversion characters are used for formatting common date time compositions. Okay, so that talks about C here to get a formatting like this. Okay, and the last line which you can see here. Fine. If you just are interested in the date part, we could go for the formatting using the capital F. Okay, Y. Fine. This is like you picking a year, month, and date. Okay, so that could be T and capital F. Okay. Okay, let's check what we have done, right? Percentage TC. Where's the printf? No, it's upper and lower, both are valid. Percentage TC is, this should be fine. And get date time. Get date time is returning the local date time. So for the type local date time, this should have been okay, I think. Or I think it works. Okay, because it's when we say local date time, okay, what it assumes, it doesn't assume time zone here. It's not assuming any time zone, so there's no time zone attached to it. Okay, since there is no time zone attached to it, and now if you look at what C says, right, what C would like to print is something like, EDT is there. That's a time zone. Our local date time doesn't have the time zone part in it. Okay, and therefore formatting it like this is creating an error. Okay, fine. If you want, we can just go for capital F to get the year, month, and date part only, right? Or is there something else which can give me the some time also? Okay, I think let's compromise on not showing the time currently. Okay, or we'll have to print it twice. Okay, we can first for the date part and then the time part. Fine, time part maybe capital T. So capital F followed by capital T, right? So if you want, we can repeat the field twice and then achieve it. Okay, let's try first with getting the capital F, right? Using the T capital F. Okay. So that's going to give us only the date. And if you want to have the time part, right, okay, we'll add one more percentage T. And what was the letter? It was T, capital T. Okay, T. Okay, and then we'll have to repeat this field twice. Okay, fine. So that has failed only simply because the time zone was not there. Okay. Let's run now and check how it's coming. Okay, yeah, it's not formatted the way we would have liked it to be, right? Okay, opening band. I think we can reduce the size for the narration part from 20. Let's make it 15 and let's check. Okay. Okay. And Still something. Okay. 15, I think we can reduce the 15 here. Okay. Let's make it 12. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Fine. Coming better. Yeah. This looks fine. Fine. The date time is year, month. Fine. That's from T F, and that is TT. Okay. Fine. And this, okay, the narration is coming right aligned. Like, okay, normally we expect things to be right aligned because they are numeric type. For numeric, it's fine. Right alignment is good. Okay. But for this one, we don't want it to be right aligned. Okay. It should be left aligned. So let's check that also. Right. Okay. I think we can just try that, putting a minus. It's here, right? Minus 15s. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, one point here is that yes, when you want to know about how to use printf, the documentation, it's a huge documentation. Fine, it's quite elaborate. Okay, which you can look at in the. So for that, look at the documentation for formatter class, which is in the java.util package. Okay. Fine. So clear. Okay. So print passbook, yes, that's working for us now. There's one small change still. Okay, and a quick one. It's related to the. Okay, this change is related to the. It's in the transaction class. Yeah. So this is going to be in the transaction class. Let's check this. Okay. See, in the transaction class, the constructor here, what we have done, we have said, okay, we'll be making an entry in the passbook, right? That's how we are making the entry in the passbook. Think about exceeding 100 transactions, then what should happen? So what we would like to do here? Yeah. Okay. So we can't just make a, and this will throw up an exception, array index out of bounds exception. Okay. So what should be done? Before we can do this, we should have a check. Okay. So what's the check going to be? If, yeah, we can know how many transactions are already there, we can know from the next transaction index. Okay. Okay. If next transaction, yeah. Okay. So let's say it is 100. So my index will be, next transaction index would have become 100. Okay. So if it is greater than or equal to, fine, equal to also, right? Equal to what? Why I want to hard code 99? Okay, look at the length. Right? Whatever the size is, right? We are not hard coding that 100 thing. Okay. Also, what we now can do here is, we won't give an error. We will still allow him. In order to do that, what we need to do is increase the size of the array. Okay, allocate a bigger array and copy everything from here to there. Okay, so how do we do that? Okay, whatever is the current size, let's add 50 to that. Okay, let's add 50 each time. Each time you hit the length, let's add 50. Okay, so that's going to be my increment. Okay, so the passbook size increases, the array size increases by 50. Next time you also covered 50 more. Okay, fine. Next time it will be again more, adding more 50 more things. Okay, so we don't want to give an error, but also we need to do a copy. All the elements from the previous array to be copied to the newly allocated array. Oh, we have to do all that? Oh, there is a better way of doing it. Okay, there is a, we have this class called arrays, right? And it has a lot of static method dealing with the array. So we have method to copy the array also. So we could now go for saying account dot this dot passbook equal to, okay, arrays dot copy or copy of, I think. Let me just check. I think it is copy or copy of, one of those methods. It would take as parameter what is the array to be copied from the source array. Okay, comma, second parameter will be the new size you want. It will copy and allocate a bigger size or smaller size as you indicate. Okay, fine. So it will be nothing but your account dot this dot passbook dot length plus 50. Yeah, copy or copy of will have to be checked. Okay, so it's still exceeding. Okay, fine. Let's confirm whether it is copy or copy of. Okay, look in the API. Go back to the package. So it's a Java util package, and we want to look at the class called arrays. The methods here. Okay, it's a copy method. Copy of, and method name is copy of, and you can see here copy of for generic would be there, fine. So there is one for copy of, fine, T array, right? Takes a T array, the original and the new length which you want. Okay, so that's the one which we are using here. So method name is copy of. Okay, fine. Only one thing here, I'll just also show you another convention which we follow here. We don't hard code things like 100 and 50, the numbers which we have written here. Okay, there's a different way of using it. It's a better idea to do it that way. Okay, this anyway should we should be able to compile. What is that? Oh, arrays. We have to use the import for that. things are working fine. You'll have to test out with the making the values instead of 100 make it 5, and instead of 50 make it 2 or 3, and then test it out with the smaller values, so you can easily test it out. But the logic has to be tested, right? The way we have written that length thing. And right? So one more thing, to be easily be changing the values for the 150, what we would normally have done is, we should have done, we don't have those things the way we have done there. Okay, instead we might use private static final int, okay, and make some meaningful equals, I keep it 100, okay, and use this variable, okay, rather than someone looking at 100, he understands what it is basically. Okay, so anything when you are it's only 0 or anything, but anywhere else if you are using constants, it's better to have a meaningful variable declared for it. Okay, equal to 50. And so this you can then experiment with, but yes, we'll have to now use this one instead of the hard-coded values like 100. Okay, fine. So this will have to be changed to initial passbook size. And the other one, okay, so in the construct of the transaction, yeah. Okay, so where we are saying copy of, yeah, we have used this value 50. So no hard-coded values. It should be a meaningful constant which we are writing, right? Show the constant meaning of the constant first. Fine. Yeah. So no one should say, oh, what is this 50 about? Why this 50? And also it gives us a very convenient thing. For testing purpose, now if I want to change, I have to just go and top itself, I will change. Because this may be getting used at multiple places. Okay. And it's right at the beginning, right? Such constants. So you will have constants being declared like this. Many places we may even find that in the project you have a file called constants.java. It's just full of public static final declarations. Okay, so in this package, wherever I have all kind of constants which I have, okay, I have the meaningful names for them, and my other Java files are only using those names from here. So it will say constants dot something. Okay. Okay, so you may find such different practices. Yeah. Okay, fine. So things are working. You can see some more things. Yeah, yeah, here. And so two of those were only the opening balance, right? Fine, and see the description, everything is coming fine, I think. Yeah. Okay, so good till now. Yeah. Okay, fine. So any questions?
No, sir.
Okay. That zero, because it's a deposit, so the withdrawal part is showing 0. I think it can be blanked out, but that formatting will have to be checked. So it's either a space for zeros. There is some such formatting. So that percentage, fine. We'll have to read that formatting. Okay. So you can get blank also instead of a 0. Oh, you want a dash? So that could have been done.
This looks like both the procedure are happening. Zero is like a value.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you want to get that 0 removed, let it be a blank one. Okay, and you can also think about putting appropriate headers for them and creating a header line. Okay. Okay, so you can do more meaningful formatting. Just go through the formatter class. Okay, then fine. So, fine. So we'll continue tomorrow now.